Coming up in today's newscast, today the world marks International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Hezbollah Terror leader Hassan Nasrallah finally breaks his silence on Operation Northern Shield, and ILTV goes on an in-depth tour of the job market for new immigrants, or Olim Hadashim.
Today, on Sunday, the world marks International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is observed annually on January 27th. And on the occasion of this day, the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics released some unfortunate figures that reveal there are only around 200,000 Holocaust survivors still living in Israel today.
According to the report, as of the end of 2017, the last year for which figures are available, there were 212,000 Holocaust survivors living in Israel. The year before, in 2016, there were 221,000 Holocaust survivors, and by 2025, there are expected to be only around 100,000 Holocaust survivors still with us, all of whom will be 85 years old or older. Then by 2030, there are expected to be just 53,000 survivors left, all of them over the age of 90. This government report is based on data collected by the Holocaust Survivors' Rights Authority at the Finance Ministry and includes anyone who was exposed to the Nazi regime as a survivor, including people who lived in countries occupied by Nazi Germany, as well as refugees who fled their homes due to the Nazis' genocidal regime. As for the survivors still with us, they're all over the age of 73 right now, and 60% of them are women. Additionally, 65% of the survivors are originally from Europe, though there are also survivors from Arab countries, including Iraq, Morocco, and Algeria, who were exposed to regimes collaborating with the Nazis. And nearly a third of the survivors living in Israel today made Aliyah just after the war between 1948 and 51. Meanwhile, outside Israel, many other countries around the world are also marking International Holocaust Memorial Day. In Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel called for a renewed fight against anti-Semitism, saying that today's youth must learn about the horrors of the past so that history doesn't repeat itself. And a poll taken in the UK shows just how important the need for Holocaust education really is. According to a poll run by the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust and published by the daily newspaper The Guardian, 1 in 20 British adults do not believe the Holocaust even happened, while 1 in 5 people did not know that 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, believing that it was a much lower figure. And unfortunately, statistics revealed recently in the United States and Canada show similarly startling figures.
Despite the world coming together to commemorate International Holocaust Remembrance Day, it seems that knowledge of the Holocaust is at an all-time low, while anti-Semitism is at a 25-year high. So the question remains, what's going on and what do we need to do about it? Joining me in the studio to discuss is former Israeli ambassador to multiple countries, Yosef Livne. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so first of all, what do we need to do? Because the rates of anti-Semitism in Europe, in the United States, certain attacks, ideologies about how the Holocaust never happened or at least was overplayed, these rates are continuing to grow.
I think that it's extremely important to invest a lot of efforts in making sure that the memory of the Holocaust does not fade away. I think it behooves upon the State of Israel to initiate a program that will underline the lessons of the Holocaust, the history of the Holocaust, and then what is the significance? Why is it so important? What made it so unique that it deserves such an attention? I think that the fact that the 27th of January was declared as the International Holocaust Day was a very important step. It has to be the foundation upon which those who really understand the meaning of the Holocaust should build an edifice of programs, educational programs, public awareness programs to make sure that it doesn't fade away.
So what, because I keep thinking back to the United States, for example, where Israel is a small country, and for all intents and purposes, getting out the information about the Holocaust and getting other countries to really integrate that information into their education programs is easier said than done. So how do you do that in the United States, where you don't even have a regulated education system?
No, because you don't have a national educational system. I think it has to be done on a state-by-state basis. You start with those places where you have much more influence, where you can, at least engage the local authorities and say, look, this is important. Let's say Pennsylvania, for instance. A few months following the attack on the synagogue in Pittsburgh, I think now is the proper time. And I think that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania would probably, at least would agree to consider some sort of a program that will include reference, studies, research on the Holocaust. And if you start state by state, you'll never cover the entire, the 50 states.
Of course.
But if you're in Florida, if you're in California, if you're in Pennsylvania, in New York, and other major centers of population, I think that that'll be an important achievement. Then, of course, look, when I was ambassador to Mexico, I remember on the 27th of January, there were events which took place under the auspices of the United Nations with people from the Senate or from Congress and people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it has to be, this is a never-ending effort. And I think that Israel is not the only actor, and in fact, I would say that it shouldn't be the only actor. I think it should work with friends to make sure that this day remains an important feature on the international calendar.
All right, well, we certainly remember here in Israel and at ILTV, and I agree that Israel needs to absolutely do everything that they can with foreign bodies to continue this education effort. Ambassador Livni, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, just one day after initially denying entry to Qatari payments for thousands of poor citizens and government workers in the Gaza Strip, Islamic terror group Hamas on Saturday finally allowed the third installment of aid to be paid out with an additional $5 million. At first, the third Qatari payment of $15 million was halted by Israel as a punitive measure against Hamas's violence and incitement along the Gaza-Israel border. Essentially, it was Israel's way of saying no more to paying money for peace that never came. But then after the payment was later allowed by Israel in order to avoid a humanitarian crisis. Hamas, though, rejected the funds on the grounds that the agreements with Israel had been broken.
قدمنا رفضنا لاستقبال المنحة القطرية الثالثة ردا على نحن قدمنا رفضنا لاستقبال المنحة القطرية الثالثة ردا على سياسة الاحتلال بمحاولات التلكؤ ومحاولات عدم الالتزام بالتفاهمات، ونحمله المسؤولية الكاملة أمام هذا التلكؤ والابتزاز. ونحن نقول لن يكون شعبنا ولن تكون غزة ولن نقبل أن تكون التفاهمات جزء من عملية الابتزاز وجزء من العملية الانتخابية الصهيونية الداخلية.
However, following the initial block and amidst Hamas's reportedly dropping approval ratings, the Gaza Terror Organization did later facilitate the handing out of over $9.4 million in Qatari aid to thousands of needy families in the Strip. The payment was originally mostly for Hamas's salaries, but thousands of Gazans lined up at various post offices around the coastal enclave to receive $100 each. And Qatari officials were present at each and every one of these locations, overseeing that those receiving the funds were actually named on a list pre-approved by Israel. Palestinian sources allege that at least 6,000 families were removed from that list. Additionally, Qatari representatives reported to the AFP that they will no longer be funding Hamas's salaries anyway. Rather, Qatar will work with the international community in order to continue ensuring their funds end up in the neediest of hands.
As tensions in Gaza flare back and forth in the south, terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon to the north on Saturday issued threats against the Jewish state, and this is hardly a week after Israeli forces began completion of Operation Northern Shield, intent on finding and neutralizing Hezbollah's cross-border attack tunnels that enter Israel's Galilee region. But in his first response to Israel's actions against the tunnels, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah first stated that he was simply surprised that it took so long for Israel to find them. In fact, he said many of the tunnels had been there for years, even over a decade.
نعم هناك أنفاق والإسرائيلي بعد سنوات طويلة اكتشف عددا من هذه الأنفاق. هذا الأمر لم يكن مفاجئا، بل المفاجئ أن هذه الأنفاق طال وقتها حتى اكتشفها الإسرائيلي. في الحد الأدنى أحد الأنفاق التي تم اكتشافها في الأسابيع القليلة الماضية، نفق يعود عمره إلى 13 عاما أو 14 عاما. كل الأهداف التي وضعها نتنياهو لعملية درع شمالي فشلت. قدم لنا خدمات إعلامية ونفسية ومعنوية جليلة. نعم، هو حقق إنجازا وحيدا، وهو أنه هناك عدد من الأنفاق تم كشفها، وهذه الأنفاق ليس معلوما أنها هي كل الأنفاق، وهذه ليست نهاية الدنيا.
Further, Nasrallah added that the Iranian-backed Hezbollah organization could both rebuild the tunnels and or enter the Galilee without them anyway. And then, turning his attentions to Syria, Nasrallah began to threaten Israel for continuing to act. He warned the Jewish state to, quote, be cautious not to exaggerate what you're doing in Syria because a miscalculation could drag the region into a war or a major confrontation, end quote. Adding when asked that, quote, of course we possess a sufficient number of precision missiles, end quote.
في أي لحظة يمكن أن يتخذ قرار، لأنه لا أريد أن أقول أنه الآن اتخذ قرار. في أي لحظة قد يتخذ قرار لتعاطي مختلف مع الاعتداءات الإسرائيلية على سوريا.
من قبل من؟
من قبل سوريا، من قبل القيادة السورية، ومن قبل محور المقاومة أيضا.
All that said, however, United States officials have reportedly mulled keeping some troops in Syria to counter Iran and support Israel, while Immigration Minister Yoav Gallant of the Likud said on Saturday that Israel and Russia were cooperating on a plan aimed at ousting Iran from the region as well. Gallant said that Israel and Russia have a shared interest to expel the Iranians from Syria, and just the day before, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov essentially said the same thing.
Last week, the president of the National Assembly and opposition leader in Venezuela, Juan Guaido, came out on top as the self-proclaimed replacement for President Nicolas Maduro, swearing in front of a very large crowd shortly after. And only a few moments later, the United States issued a statement recognizing Guaido as a new interim president of Venezuela, followed by other countries worldwide. And now Israel has joined the wave after getting pressured by the United States to back their decision to support Guaido. ILTV's Joy Gavijon is here with more. Joy?
Thanks, Aaron. So after all the pressure, Netanyahu issued a video with a short statement where he said Israel joins the United States, Canada, and most of the Latin American countries and countries in Europe in recognizing the new leadership in Venezuela.
So this is really interesting because...
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because even though Israel has no diplomatic ties with Venezuela, Netanyahu decided to follow the United States, which is Israel's major ally.
Yes, and also most of the other countries that recognize Guaido are nations that have strong ties with Israel, among them Brazil. Now, the thing is that originally, Jerusalem refused to follow the United States' request because Israel feared for the Venezuelan Jewish community. The government of the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, who took office for the second time, has been characterized by a strong anti-Semitic rhetoric many times. We're talking about a left-wing regime that has expressed and shown its support for Iran, Syria, and even terror organizations like Hamas.
So because of this, then the Israeli government was afraid that in response Maduro would take maybe I don't know, maybe take his angers out against the local Jews.
Exactly, yes, and that's why it took a long time for Israel to take a side. The Venezuelan Jewish community used to be one of the largest in South America at around 25,000 when Chavez became president, and now only a few thousand still live there. The ongoing crisis plus the anti-Semitism made it impossible for people to stay, mostly Jews, and they fled mostly to Israel and the United States.
But the ones that are left, they still need to be taken care of.
Yes, of course. Today, there are around 5,000 and 6,000 Jews living in Venezuela, mostly in the capital, in Caracas. So
right.
There are, people who the government has to take care for.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to just wait and see what happens then after Israel's latest recognition of Guaido as the president of Venezuela. It's major news, and we have no idea how that repercussion is going to look. But until then, thank you for your report, Joy.
Of course, Aaron.
Israel will now send an aid and rescue team to Brazil to help with rescue efforts in the wake of a burst dam, which has left at least 34 people dead and hundreds still missing. On Friday, the dam at an iron ore mine owned by the Val S.A. in the mining-intensive state of Minas Gerais burst, releasing a torrent of mud, which left a 500-foot wide path of destruction.
Brazilian rescue workers over the weekend were focused on finding the survivors still trapped in the mud, but authorities estimate that the death toll will still rise sharply. So on Saturday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and offered to send immediate Israeli assistance to the site to help in search and rescue operations. According to the Prime Minister's office, Bolsonaro agreed to the request and thanked Netanyahu, with the two leaders agreeing that the Israeli team would then leave for Brazil immediately. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro arrived at the site of the dam break and flew over the disaster area as well.
Levou tudo, não sobrou nada. Então quem estava trabalhando ali? Eu fui salvar a menina que estava precisando de ajuda lá na lama, lá no meio do esgoto.
Then later, according to Reuters, the governor of Minas Gerais called on the Brazilian government to help bring technology to help recover the buried bodies.
O governo federal deve nos ajudar no sentido de estar trazendo alguma tecnologia lá de fora que ajude a recuperar os corpos que estão soterrados, porque é muito difícil você localizar um corpo a 5, 10 metros de profundidade. Israel já se ofereceu para poder fazer isso.
The governor also assured that those responsible for the dam break would be exemplarily punished and their assets frozen. As such, a Brazilian judge in Minas Gerais on Saturday froze $1.33 billion in the accounts of mining corporation VLSA to pay for the damages caused by the incident.
Now, on the way to the 2019 World Surf League's European qualifying series, competitors from 26 different countries came first to Netanya's Kontiki Beach in Israel earlier this month for the Seat Pro Netanya competition, and the action was incredible.
Eitan Osborne of California and Tristan Guilbaud of France went head-to-head on the last day of the Seat Pro Netanya, where initially the waves weren't looking too cooperative. But as soon as the 3 to 4 foot swells began to pick up, so did the acrobatics. And it was here that Osborne pulled further ahead to solidify his lead in overall points. Further, it was Osborne's first ever qualifying series win, and he made sure to pass on the good vibes after the competition in an interview where he said, quote, "This feels incredible. I don't think it would be this good, but it is," end quote.
Means a lot. My grandpa has brothers and uncles here, and my mom's grandpa's from here, and I've had so many people tell me how special it is for them that I won, and it's special for me too, especially when everyone's so happy for me, and I love it.
Guilbaud, in the meantime, came up just behind for second place overall, but first as the man to beat in the upcoming Euro Championships. The Seat Pro Netanya was put together with the support of the World Surf League, the Israel Surfing Association, the City of Netanya, Seat, Maccabi Israel, Otzma, the Israeli Olympic Committee, the Israeli Ministry of Culture and Sport, and many, many more. And now, in just a few more weeks, surfers will return for the next qualifying round in the European QS in the Canary Islands.
And now ILTV's Natasha Kirchuk returns to Israel Daily with the latest news from her new program, Insight to Israel. So Natasha, first of all, welcome back.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. And, you know, I just want to say I loved last week's show, and I cannot wait for tonight's episode.
I'm very excited myself. There is a lot to look forward to. I can give you a little bit of a teaser if you'd like.
Please.
So one of my favorite stories of the week is actually the story of a very special Israeli man who is raising or taking care of 50 elderly dogs.
That was a 5-0.
5-0,
right there.
not 15, 5-0.
Right.
I have 2 dogs, and I think it's a lot to handle. This guy has 50 dogs, but it's for a very special cause. You know, a lot of elderly dogs have trouble getting adopted in shelters because people just don't want to take on the challenge.
Everybody wants the puppy too.
Of course, you want the cute little puppy, right? And it's not easy, obviously, to bring an older dog into your home. You have to obviously train the dog as well, and many of these dogs are not trained. But one of the bigger issues is that a lot of these animals can't stand. They can't, go to the bathroom outside.
A lot of like the left end of life kind of.
Right. So people give up these dogs. It's as if you were to give up grandma because you can't handle her anymore. So Kobe Brook, this special Israeli man, has actually adopted 50 dogs, and he takes care of them. And I met them all.
Well, I love this, and I would want to talk more about this specifically, but I know that you had a lot of other really great items in the show. I mean, you talked about the history of malabi, which is like the best dessert in the world.
Yes, I like to call it the most typical dessert in Israel, but it really has Syrian roots, Persian roots, Turkish roots. Like all food in Israel, it comes from everywhere. But malabi is one of the most famous places that you can get in Tel Aviv, so we obviously had to go and check it out.
And they're all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And then on a more serious note, you actually also discussed sexual assault.
Right. So, my show is typically covering more positive news, but also a lot of human interest stories. And I saw a really brave post on social media a couple weeks ago, a man who experienced sexual assault and wanted to share it with the Facebook community to help prevent further abuse from that same man, and it actually sparked a big response from people online, and I brought him in to talk about it. So,
I think a lot of people are going to be very interested to see how that interview went down. I mean, it's startling. It's an alarming kind of topic.
Yeah, 1 in 6 men deal with sexual assault. We don't talk about it, but that's the number.
Yeah. So anyway, Insight to Israel, catch it tonight. Natasha, thank you so much for coming.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
All right, up now, we've spoken more than once about the online Facebook community Secret Tel Aviv, and we've even had the founder, Johnny Stark, in for an interview to tell us all about how he got started with the international platform. Well, ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh went to check out their semi-annual jobs and education fair earlier this month, and you definitely will not want to miss what she found out there. Let's take a look.
We're here right now at the Secret Tel Aviv semi-annual job and education fair where Israelis and internationals alike can find their perfect job. So let's go check it out.
If you're thinking about making the move to Israel or already live here but don't even know where to begin looking for a job or school, this fair is perfect for you. I got to meet with the founder of the online community and the creator of the fair itself to hear why an event like this is so necessary.
We have our jobs board on our website. This is just a way where people can come and meet companies, learn about new companies. We find that like one of the biggest problems that Olim have is they don't know all these great companies. You know, everyone's heard of Wix, everyone's heard of Waze, but all these other amazing high-tech companies people necessarily haven't heard of. So what we're trying to do here is just get, I think we've got 14 top companies here, and just give them a platform so they can come and meet people, explain what they do, explain what jobs they have available, and meet people, basically.
There's about between 600 to 700 North American Olim coming to Tel Aviv every year. Now, this is significant because essentially there's 3,000 startups in Tel Aviv, and they all need international communication. They need marketing experts, they need communication experts, they're selling to the world.
I walked around a bit to see some of the successful companies looking for employees and got a chance to hear about their company and their experiences with the fair.
Monday.com is a project management and team collaboration tool. We allow any type of project, any size team from any vertical, any industry to manage any type of project on our platform. We make Mondays and work days, much better and much fun to handle. So
Checkpoint is one of the leading companies for internet security. We secure companies all over the world and make sure they don't get hacked.
Considering this is the 6th time this jobs and education fair is happening, it's clearly succeeding in both finding new immigrants their perfect job, as well as for companies to find their perfect employees.
We know on average each company recruits at least one person from the jobs fairs. We know from people that come looking for jobs it's been successful. We know people have found jobs. The companies keep on coming back, which I think is like the best sign.
It's the kind of the first stop for great talent. And the talent is different from other places. I tend to find that the Secret Tel Aviv talent is upper middle class, highly educated. It's the best and the brightest.
It's been actually very successful. We got 60 CVs today.
What about the people looking to study here in Israel in English?
When we first started it, we said, okay, we want to have some universities here as well, and people can learn about degree courses that you can do in English. So this time we've got 6 of Israel's top universities, 6 MBA courses. So it's just a great place to come and learn all about the different courses that we have in English.
All right, so we've met with some of the best companies here looking for international and Israeli people to come fill their job entries, but one thing that really stood out to me is the massage table that's waiting for me. I already have a job, but you guys should check out the Secret Tel Aviv Job and Education Fair while I go get a massage. See you guys later.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day, we finally just relaunched our website, ILTV.tv, with a new look, new content, and more. So believe me and my unbiased opinion when I say that it is looking good. And that's why today's Hebrew word is atar, meaning a website. Now technically, an atar is just a site or location, and a website would be an atar internet, but in today's world, the shorthand will do just fine. And let me just say that the new atar or website for ILTV.tv is a major upgrade. Now, all of your favorite ILTV programming from the Jewish state can be found in one clean and easy to navigate atar or site, something I know many of you watching out there at home have been waiting a long time for. So thanks for watching, thank you for your continued support, and please enjoy our new and vastly improved atar at ILTV.tv. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of about 49 or 9 degrees Celsius. Then tomorrow you can expect scattered storms and little changes in temperatures. The high will be around 60 or 16 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.67 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at our new and improved website, ILTV.tv. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel.English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you so much for watching.